There are two ways in which any government can proceed. One is a way based on what you and I would call a free society, which is enshrined right at the heart of the American Constitution. The other one is a way which allows only one view, both of economics and politics, in which almost everything is either owned or controlled by the state, including the media, including the ideas, including freedom of discussion and everything. There is no freedom of discussion. Now, between those two ways, the free society and the totally controlled society, there are, of course, variations. I think what we've learned in Britain is that we've gradually, over the last certainly 12 or 13 years, with perhaps a little interruption, gone slowly further and further away from the free society towards something else. At the same time, we've found, I don't find it strange, but some other people do, that we have stopped creating wealth. We've had a large number of increasing restrictions. And you've been finding two things. First, that we are more and more concentrating on redistributing the wealth we've got, rather than creating any more. To create more, you need a slightly freer society, and you need an incentive society. Naturally, when I see that happening, I look with very great alarm to societies which have gone even further left. That is, they've tried to redistribute even more and haven't had the incentives for people working hard on their own account, doing well for their families, and often then being able to create jobs for others. They've produced a much more prosperous society than we have.
We fight on the beaches, we shall fight on the landing grounds.
Thank you for joining us. You are listening to A Radio, and this is The Morning Moment. We're on weekdays, 11:45 Eastern. Follow us on Spreaker.com and click on the like button. I'm going to read a large part of this article, and it's from the Trumpet magazine. The links will be on my site. Here's the title of the piece: The Inspiring Truth Abortionists Should Know. It's also got a subtitle, It's a Fundamental Question of What Human Life is Worth. This is a great piece. I can't read it all, it's way too long, but it really does put it in perspective. January 22nd was the 46th anniversary of Roe v. Wade, the Supreme Court decision that legalized abortion in the United States. The New York State Senate celebrated the occasion by passing the Reproductive Health Act, liberalizing the state's already liberal abortion code. The law essentially decriminalizes abortion right up to the point of birth. If a healthcare practitioner decides killing a baby would be good for the mother's health, or even her physiological or emotional well-being, he can now legally end that young life. Several other states are working to follow New York's lead, including Massachusetts, New Mexico, Rhode Island, and Washington. Virginia legislator Kathy Tran proposed a new state law similar to New York's, aimed at lifting restrictions on abortions during the third trimester, even up to birth. She was questioned in a subcommittee whether her law would permit abortions during dilation, which is when the baby is beginning to emerge. She said yes. Abortion advocates say they are defending women's rights. They're nobly crusading for freedom, for equality, for health. But Tran is boldly advocating, and what New York state leaders are openly celebrating is not just that. They are preserving current abortion rights. It's not that they are preserving current abortion rights. They are expanding them and strengthening abortion culture in America. Right now in America, on average, an abortion is performed every 30 seconds. That's 3,000 abortions every day, 1 million abortions every year, excluding miscarriages. 1 out of every 5 pregnancies ends in the poisoning, dismemberment, or other methods of destroying the baby before or as he or she is being born. Now, in this article, there's a picture of the former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton applauding as New York Governor Andrew Cuomo speaks out about reproductive rights at Barnard College, and that was on July 7 in New York City. So as I say, you need to read the article and see it in context. Everything is moving in the direction of more abortion, looser laws and fewer restrictions, yet liberals act like the real danger is a supposed assault on women's rights. They are fighting the supposedly aggressive, dangerous efforts of those who would restrict those rights, most notably the Supreme Court's newest appointment, Brett Kavanaugh, whom they fear could overturn Roe v. Wade. Liberals warn that Kavanaugh's confirmation would mean that millions of people will die, and are now pushing laws to counteract that. Meanwhile, since Roe v. Wade, abortion mills have killed 61 million unborn little boys and girls. Here's an unmistakable reality. The abortion advocates have a casual, even hostile perspective on human life. Opposing this trend are those who view human life as very special, uniquely worthy of preservation and protection. These two perspectives could not be more different. Which is your view? Rapidly changing standards. It was just 2008, during her first run for president, when Hillary Clinton, perhaps the most prominent champion of abortion in America, said she wanted to reduce the number of abortions. Her policy was,
I believe abortion should be safe, legal, and rare.
And by rare, I mean rare. That position, only a decade old, is a relic of ancient history. On July 30th, Virginia Governor Ralph Northam spoke on a local radio program supporting trans proposed law, explaining how late a baby could be aborted. The governor said, and this is an abbreviated quote, "If a mother is in labour, I can tell you exactly what would happen. The infant will be delivered, the infant would be kept comfortable, the infant would be resuscitated if that's what the mother and the family desired, and then a discussion would ensue between the physicians and the mother." There is no mistaking what he said. He is describing a child who has already been delivered, and a discussion taking place on whether to allow the child to live or die. He is describing a child who has already been delivered, and the discussion is taking place over whether to allow that child to live or die. I find that sobering, I'm sure you do. The article continues. Lifetimes ago, the left abandoned the realm of absolute right and wrong when they committed to abortion. Ever since, they have reasoned and promised their way through the logic. Abortion should be done for good reason, they said. It should occur early in pregnancy, they said. It should be rare, they said. And that was just 3 presidential elections ago. But since there is no stage between conception and the baby's first breaths where he or she suddenly becomes a human being, they moved their demands, not in the direction of making abortion earlier and rarer, but further and further toward the light at the end of the birth canal. And now, even after that, Governor Northam spoke with such humane terminology, keeping the infant comfortable and such, before killing it. The language always sounds so honourable and principled. He said this would be done in the cases where there may be severe deformities or the child is non-viable. Even if this were absolutely true, likely not, and it was only done when there absolutely were deformities. What is severe or non-viability? For how long? We are still talking about a form of eugenics. This is infanticide. This is murder. That's the first article that I've heard they use the word murder, because it is murder. Many people were horrified by what Governor Northam said. But what was the story in the mainstream media? According to the headlines, the real story was overreaction by Republicans. Apparently, anyone revolted by the idea of killing a child after delivery is just trying to deny women their rights. This is what happens when we come to view human life as nothing more than a matter of atoms colliding with atoms. This is what happens when we say there's nothing sacred about human life. It's not about the fact that abortion is big business. It's not about the fact abortion clinics are encouraging abortion and trying to move patients in and out as quickly as possible. That Planned Parenthood alone takes in $1.7 billion a year in revenue. Did you know that? $1.7 billion, my goodness. And that American taxpayers subsidize nearly a quarter of all abortion costs. No matter how morally opposed they are to it, it ignores the moral dimension of this question entirely. And the piece continues. Please read the whole article and share that article with as many open-minded people as you can. More people need to know what's going on here and stop it being swept under the rug. In my mind, it must be aired in public. These and other politicians, both in the United States and around the world, must be held accountable and have them justify their laws in public, not behind secret committees that are not reported on and are voted on in the dead of night. I hope, like me, you are both shocked and dismayed of their callous attitude towards human life. It really does remind me of those evil Nazis in World War II with their death camps and piles of corpses from the result of gassing millions of citizens, human beings, because they were not the same, gassing them by using Cyclone B. Tell me the difference between that atrocity and this. Anyone who is really honest with themselves would, I think, be hard pushed to separate the two, if they're honest with themselves. In my mind, if human life is so cheap, then what are we? Who are we? And that's my comment. You can find more at aradio.wordpress.com, where you can find links to us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Gab and email. We're also on Spotify. Just go to the podcast section and type Canadian Politics with a twist and you'll find us. We are continuing to reach out to you, so please pass on these links. Please click on the follow button on Spreaker.com. You can listen to all our morning moments at Spreaker.com under A Radio. That's EHRADIO, A Radio, and click on the like button. And you can hear a review of our morning moments on WHBJ-DB, News Talk Radio on Spreaker.com. Join us and many others. And you can find all our podcasts and morning moments at aradio.wordpress.com. Click on the Morning Moments tab.